Who's watching?
Hello. Welcome back to the third and the final one of Shaken Up Formula. You may have noticed we've mixed things about a bit. Please give us feedback on what you think of that.
We'll be back hopefully it'll turn out alright.
Hopefully, yeah. We'll be back to a more regular thing for our final video. But today we're just going to have a nice chill discussion about a couple of episodes that we found particularly scary.
Yep.
Do you want to go first?
Okay, well, the first one, because I'm going to leave the Doctor Who one to last, because I've got a lot more to say about that one. But the first one that I'm going to talk about is Day of the Clown from Sarah Jane Adventures. Now, I remember, I don't really remember this one live, but I remember the trailer for it. And the trailer ends with, what is he called? Is he called Odd Bob? Odd Bob, I think he's called. He's like, oh, boo, and you know. And it is quite scary because he's right up in the camera. And it's Bradley Walsh playing Odd Bob. And it does go to show he is a very good actor. He's a very good actor. Because he's very scary.
It's essentially Stephen King's
It is basically, is it. But it is quite a nice parody / take on it. I think they do mention something about Pennywise in it, possibly. There is something to do with it that they mention, I think. As like, not like, this is basically taken from it, but there is something they mention about it.
I think I've seen some of it. Not it as in Stephen King's it, I've seen all of that.
Yeah.
Love that. I think in that episode, don't they say that he's the Pied Piper?
Yeah, he is. He's the Pied Piper.
I saw a bit of a channel hopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a nice twist, but he's scarier when he's the clown. And you get that Sarah Jane's terrified of clowns, and she goes back to when she was a child. She had a clown puppet that used to hang up on the door, and there was a thunderstorm, and it started to shake. And when she was like 6, it looked like it was alive. And Bradley Walsh I can't remember what he says. He's like, oh yes, it is the fear of the painted smile, and things like that. And he's like, and she's like, yeah, but it wasn't real, it was a puppet. He was like, oh, was it Miss Smith? Or was it me? And it's, it's like, because he's been there for centuries as well. And no, Day of the Clown is because they got the red balloons. He hands them all red balloons. And so I don't know if that's what controls the children or what, but I seem to remember they're all walking towards this museum and they're all carrying red balloons. It's not quite, you'll all float too, if but they're all carrying, so that is the big It reference in Day of the Clown.
You talk about red balloons. I don't know if I said this before in any of the videos, probably not. I think we just talked about it after filming. But when I watched It Chapter 1, it's like, just reminded me of that. There was, the next day I was working, and a kid had come in, and I couldn't see the kid because he was behind stuff. Small. But I just saw a red balloon floating around, and I kept turning around just seeing this balloon. I was like,
Pennywise.
I was like, oh dear. And then later on, I saw the child holding it. And I was like,
but no, they've all got red balloons. So that's the thing to it. But no, Day of the Clown. It is one of those. It's not the best story in the world. I'm not going to sit here and say, it's the best Sarah Jane story, because it's not. But it is very, very scary. It's one of those stories I'm surprised they got away with it. In that, so many people are scared of clowns. I mean, I don't like them. They don't terrify me, but I don't like them. And I'm surprised that they were able to get away with it, especially when it was out on CBBC as well. I think that's the other thing. But no, Bradley Walsh is just terrifying. He is just so... Day of the Clown, if you haven't watched it, definitely go and watch it, because it introduces Rani. It's Rani's first story in the Sarah Jane Adventures. It gives a nice bit of character to Sarah Jane in that she's terrified of clowns. So she'd have loved it if she'd have gone to the Psychic Circus with Sylvester McCoy and Ace, and they've got all the clowns and all that sort of stuff. She'd have loved that. But no, definitely go and watch Day of the Clown if you haven't seen it. And just make your own opinion of it, because it is a lot more scary than perhaps I've made it sound. But no, it is definitely a story that's worth watching.
It's a difficult thing to explain, because it's always...
especially if it doesn't scare you anyway. Yeah. I can sit in a horror film and it not bother me, but...
It's very much in the execution.
Yeah. And there are some quite frightening moments in that story.
As you started with your Doctor Who spin-off moment, I will go with my Torchwood episode, which is, you can probably guess already, it's countryside. Just there are so many moments within that episode that are just so unsettling. You know, when they're inside and that guy's in the pub and that guy's freaking out. That was good. You know, the build-up of tension when, you know, the car tyres have been slashed and the van's been stolen and all that sort of stuff, and all their equipment's gone. That's, you know, brilliant tension moment. And the bit for me that terrifies me the most is when she's like, why you do that? And he's like, because it makes me happy. Like, oh God, that's just pure evil.
And I think what really works with Countryside is even the bit where they steal the car, they steal the Jeep, don't they? You still don't know if it's aliens or not. Because up to that point, everything in Doctor Who and Torchwood had been aliens.
You think
there hadn't been a human villain for a long time.
The reveal is quite chilling. But before that, you definitely think it's an alien going about. Devouring these
especially things. In Torchwood, you think it was.
I kind of just thought it was from, you know, apart from when it stole the Jeep. Before that, I kind of just thought it was all evil or something. It's loose, but no, it was. It definitely. It's essentially just like your one was essentially just it. It's essentially Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I tell you, the bit that I really like is the bit where that woman comes down to get Yanto and Tosh. And she's like, oh, I've been sent to come and get you, and she's acting terrified. And she leads them up into the kitchen, and then they're like, you know, oh, you know, come on, we're going. And then she's like, no, you're not going anywhere. And it's that sudden flip. She suddenly changes, and you're like, oh, you know. But she does such a good job of luring you in and thinking, okay, you know, she's having to do it, she doesn't want to do it. And you're like, no, she does. She wants to eat you. But I think I know we're off on another tangent, but there's an episode of Supernatural in the first season which has cannibals in it. Oh yeah.
And that's scary as well. That's a very scary episode.
When I watched that, I just thought of Countryside.
And I think it's that same idea. I think Dean puts it so well when he says people are just crazy. And I think people make the scariest monsters because we are. We just, you know, if you strip us down and put us at a almost base level. Of course we're going to do stuff like that. Because it's the instinct to survive, but they're doing it because they enjoy it.
That's the thing that's scary. You know, it's not a survival thing.
They're doing it because it's fun.
Because they're sick.
But it doesn't... No, I know. So, no, I like Countryside. It's one of my favourite.
I mean, we've kind of spoiled the twist if you haven't watched it, but still, if you haven't watched it, go and watch it. It's still worth a good old viewing.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favourite. One of my favourite episodes, if I had to talk about favourite episodes from the whole Doctor Who universe, that would probably be on there as well. It's a very solid story.
It's what Torchwood... Series 1's got a lot of downs and ups and downs. It's the biggest up in Series 1 for me. It shows what Torchwood could have been. I mean, we've shared our views on Torchwood before, but it's what I thought it should have been. Or I think it should have been now looking back, because when it came out I wasn't old enough to have full-blown opinions on things like that.
I watched it far too young. I watched it far too young. No, Countryside, though, is definitely worth watching. Especially if you like horror films as well. I think it's definitely a...
We tried to split these quite well, so we had one from Sarah Jane, one from Torchwood. So if you want to go with your classic
Okay, I've got a classic story. My classic story that frightens me, and I watched it the other day, and I was at home on my own, and I was like, uh-oh, I shouldn't have done it. And it was gradually, as it was starting to get darker, and I was like, I've got to get around and turn all the lights on in the house now. It's The Curse of Fenric. Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred, they land in World War II. I'm going to spoil the story for you now. They land in World War II at this, I don't think it's a naval base, but it is an army base. And you've got this scientist who's built this machine called the Ultima machine, which it deciphers, decrypts German ciphers and things that so they can tell what all their U-boats and everything are doing and things so it's a bit like Alan Turing and all that sort of stuff. But this one's been built with a specific design. It's to lure the Russians in so that when the war's over, because there was that whole thing in real life, wasn't there, that then the Russians are going to be the next big, thing to rise up and attack us all.
The Red Scare.
And they had a gas, and when they deciphered a certain word, they were going to let the Russians steal this machine. When they deciphered the certain word, the machine was going to explode, unleash this gas, and basically wipe out Dresden and Moscow and things like that. But the whole way through it, the scientist who's built this machine is trying to decipher these ancient Viking inscriptions in a nearby church. We've been watching Doctor Who for a long time. We know if you try to decipher an ancient text, it ain't going to end well for you. You've got Toby in the Impossible Planet.
It's alien.
It's not going to end very well for you. And the whole first half of it, because it's 4 episodes, so the whole first half of it, you've got this unnerving sense of dread. You've got a really good musical score. And they're gradually reading more and more and more of this as they translate it. And they're like, and then the wolves of Fenric, will escape, the chains of Fenric will shatter, and death will walk the earth, and things like that. And then obviously it does, it all happens. And to quote Bonnie Tyler, lightning strikes the sea, literally. And all of a sudden, all these hemivores come out of the water. And they're horrible. The design of the hemivores are terrifying. They're this horrible blue, where they've been underwater. They're this horrible blue. They're all covered in suckers and all sorts. But they're vampires. They're all vampires. And you've got these 2 girls who, in classic horror trope, do something stupid and go swimming in the water, even though people have told them not to. And then they get turned into vampires, but they're proper vampires. And so they're the ones that the Doctor sort of interacts with because they can speak. But they're scary in their own right. They're not refugees, what are they? Evacuees. So they go and kill this horrible old woman that they've been put with and things like that. But the hemivores, they just attack this camp. And they are terrifying. They are terrifying. You've got the ancient one, who's this massive hemivore, but he's built himself. He's got like bits of spine and things like that in his back. It's a really good, for a 1980s Doctor Who, the penultimate story. You'd think they'd have run out of budget by that point, but I think it was one of the first ones they filmed for that season. You can see that money has been spent on it. You can see they've actually taken some care with it. And then you've got Fenric himself.
Probably all of their budget was
who I expect so, yeah. You get Fenric himself, who then goes into the body of the professor who's made the machine. And he's in a wheelchair to begin with, and he gets up and starts walking around. That's unnerving, that whole possession, the idea of possession and stuff. He's terrifying, he's got green glowing eyes. But I think it's just the sense of dread through the whole thing. There is a real good tension that they built up as they were translating all the inscriptions, and then you've got really good music that's, you can feel it, it's got like a heartbeat noise to it. So you can sort of feel it as it's going through, and then all the hemivores come out, and then they attack the camp, and it's just brilliant. It's such a good story. But it's terrifying. And I watched it as it was getting dark, and I thought, yeah, probably I shouldn't have done that. I would have been fine if I'd not been the only one that was at home. But no, it is terrifying. The Curse of Emmerich, go and watch it. There's about 3 different versions of it. You've got the televised version, you've got the DVD extended version, you've got the VHS extended version, which was how John Nathan Turner wanted it to be, but the BBC wouldn't let him. He wanted it to be like this big motion picture thing, and the BBC wouldn't let him, but that's a brilliant version of the story. And they've got it on the new upcoming Blu-ray set, which is Sylvester McCoy's last story, so I'm looking forward to seeing it in HD as it was intended. So you've got 3 different versions of it there, so there's no excuse not to go and watch one of them. But no, it is a very good story, Curse of Fenric. I love it to bits.
So I had some considering to do for what modern one I was going to do, and I'm still humming and ahhing about whether I made the right choice. But we've got the last video. We'll talk about the other option that I was competing with it for, but I feel like I'll be making a lot of the same arguments here and in the next one. So I'm going to go Blink.
Yep.
For me, the thing with Blink is that there is no Doctor.
Yeah.
I'd like more episodes. It sounds like that's an odd thing to request in a show you've built around a main character, being like, I want more episodes about him.
Yeah.
/ her. but I think it was so good because of
I
that
think that's
fact.
where a lot of the tension stuff comes
Yeah.
from, isn't it? Is that he's not there to save the day,
Yeah.
really.
And I think the way that episode builds up tension is really good. And, you know, so many moments of creepy, you know, or like classic horror movie shouting at the screen sort of thing. Like when he comes around and looks at the little DVD player with her, I'm like, oh no, no. And she's like, if you're here, who's looking at?
Yeah.
And then stuff like that. I think you know it was slow build of the horror.
Yeah.
It's good, and there's that moment at the beginning where she's peeling off. I love stuff when you do time travel. I love moments like that where you send messages.
It doesn't make sense at the beginning, and then it gradually.
Yeah. So when she pulls it off, and there's the writing, and then it's the doctor saying, "Duck."
Yeah.
And then the brick comes in.
Yeah.
She sees the angel, and it's like tears off a little bit. It's like
So I'm assuming the angel threw the brick.
Yeah, the angel threw the brick.
Yeah. I've always wondered that. I'm like, who threw the brick through the window?
I'm assuming an angel.
I would assume it was an angel. Yeah. I don't imagine the doctor would do acts of vandalism.
Might have been.
It could have been the doctor.
It could have been the doctor to warn her to turn around and look at the angel.
Yeah.
Although then why didn't just say look at the angel? I don't know. But
I don't know. But no, I know when we did the Jordan versus Scott one, I said the angels were scarier in the Matt Smith one because there was more of them. But they're certainly scary in Blink.
To refer
they are
what we said at the
definitely
beginning
scary
of that,
in
it
Blink.
wasn't a lot of the Jordan v Scotts aren't us saying something's bad. It's just which one is better in situations like that.
Yeah, but no, I do like Blink. It is a good.
Yeah.
It is a good scary story. I remember it frightening me when I watched it the first time.
I remember it being quite so. It sets you up. No, I wasn't exactly terrified. I wouldn't say.
Yeah.
But I don't tend to be.
It does have you on edge.
But it has you that edge. You'll see. Tension, and a big part of that is taking the doctor away. It was a genius move.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I like the fact as well that the doctor could very easily, at the end, have just taken them. The TARDIS could have taken them with. And he could have explained it all. But no, it's just like, I'll have the TARDIS, you stay there, thanks a lot.
Yeah. So I think for them as well then, it's like, oh, okay, so,
that bit where the TARDIS...
Because he doesn't say when... Does he say when the angels are in the circle they won't be able to do anything? No, he doesn't.
They figure it out themselves.
They figure it out, don't they? But even so, I'd still be like, are there any more around? As I was going out of that house, I'd be like, better just keep our eye... go up the stairs backwards, keep your eye on all of the angels as you go out.
There's that moment at the end as well where you get like and it keeps.
Oh, and it keeps on all the statues, doesn't it? Yeah.
That moment as well. Oh dear. No, I don't like that.
Yeah. No, Blink is good. It is scary.
So, yes, I hope you guys have liked the change up of different of the formulas. Please tell us which ones you prefer, what you like, what you didn't like.
Your own scary stories. They can be from anything.
What episodes? Anything Doctor Who related?
Yep.
Class. We didn't pick one from Class.
Yep. I don't think there is one.
There's the one with the dead people.
Oh, actually, I was going to say, if I had to pick one, it'd probably be that one.
There was that, but yeah, please share, subscribe, like.
Yep.
Tell your friends.
Do all of that good stuff.
Tell your nan. Tell everyone.
They might remember it originally.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there we go. Okay.
Now, hello, me again at the end of this video. Just want a little private message of you. Some of you may be watching it and thinking, hang on a second, they didn't mention the empty child. Well, I'll explain why we didn't for two reasons. One, it's pretty obvious, it's a very scary episode, it gets a lot of attention, we wanted to bring light on some other things. And the second point is we couldn't agree on who would talk about the empty child, so we thought it was best that neither of us did pick that one. So for peace sake, we didn't, and also I'm sure you all know that it's terrifying. Thank you.